Hello, and welcome to the Stubborn in Hope podcast. I'm your host, Tumilara, and I'm so glad you're here. It's a podcast. It's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, and it's adding to the long list of podcasts in the world. So, this episode is just here to be an introduction and to explain, give an answer to the question of why is there another podcast in the world? But only specifically about this podcast. I can't answer about the rest of them. Sorry. I feel like the best way is to tell you a little bit more about myself so you can understand why this podcast has come to be. And I'm going to tell you about my little habit when it comes to my phones and my phone cases. So for the majority of the last maybe 8 years, I have had clear phone cases. I mean, a quick shout out to this yellow phone case that I had, and it was two cacti giving each other a hug, and it was so cute. But I think apart from that one, my phone cases have been just a clear phone case for quite a few years now, which means I've gotten into the habit of putting something in the back of my phone. So I think at one point it was an Oyster card. That's so random. Hold on. Which to my 2026 brain doesn't make sense, because wouldn't I have risked doing Google Pay? I'm not an Apple girl, sorry. Wouldn't I have risked doing Google Pay when anyways, that's not the point. Currently, I've got a cute Polaroid of my husband and I in the back of my phone. But the important part of our story is that 6 or 7 years ago, I had a little piece of paper on the back of my phone, and I'd written, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer." Romans 12:12. And I carried that little piece of paper around in my phone for well over a year. I don't actually know how long I had it in there for by the end. And at some point, I thought to myself, be joyful in hope. When have I ever been joyful in hope? I don't think I ever have in my entire life. And I was like, hold on. This I've been carrying this around. Be joyful in hope, faithful in prayer, patient in affliction. And that first line already is not a descriptor for me. And around the same time, I had undiagnosed PMDD, I had OCD intrusive thoughts, I had suicidal ideation, anxiety, depression, you name it, I had it. It was a cocktail. What are you saying? No, it wasn't fun. It wasn't a fun time. It was hopelessness central. Yeah. I don't know why I'm doing glitter hands, but sometimes you've got to brighten the darkness with glitter. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was very much the depths of hopelessness. One of those situations where you hit rock bottom and then you realize that rock bottom also has a rock bottom. That's a very unpleasant discovery to make. But what I learned within those times is that I'm gonna riff off this really big, deep quote. And that quote that's the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I believe that was popularized by Martin Luther King, but apparently it was someone called Theodore Parker that originally said it. But I'm just going to take that idea and say that the arc of my internal universe seem to always bend towards hope. So it'd be like I would be just really feeling hopeless, and yet there would always be this like really small voice, I guess, inside of me that would be like, but what if? What if it gets really good and amazing and things get better? You will be so annoyed if you miss out. So annoyed. That was the motivation. The motivation was screw this. I'm not missing out on the best part. Um, as opposed to this like joyful anticipation or whatever else. It was a stubbornness. It was a like I mean I think I would describe stubbornness as you when someone decides that they are going in a specific direction, regardless of, you know, what people might say or what obstacles may come their way. It's like, no, this is the direction that I'm going in. And that's what that little voice was for me. It was just stubborn in hope. It was, yeah, it was very stubborn in hope. And I'm suddenly thinking, is hope something that needs definition? You know, there's eager anticipation that we can say. There's, you've got the biblical one that's like faith is the, well, see, that's a definition of faith, not a definition of hope that I was about to start saying. But it's like rooted in this idea that whatever you are expecting will happen. It's like a sureness, right? Whereas, like, I think more colloquially, is that right? Colloquially, colloq in common parlance, hope is more just kind of, you know, a wish. You know, when you say, "Oh, I hope so," which basically is equivalent to saying, "I wish so." It would be my desire that that happens, but you know, we'll see. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But however you define hope, we all generally see it as a positive thing, a thing that a light in the darkness, I suppose. And I have found that even in my hopelessness, like I said, I have this internal universe arc that bends towards hope. I have, you know, written songs and poems and all of this stuff that are proclaiming hope and are very like hope centric, I suppose. And I guess with a name like Tomi that means comfort, that does make sense. But sharing stories of hope, whether it's my own or others, it has just been part of who I am. And I want to continue sharing stories of hope. So this podcast is just the current medium through which I will do that. However long it goes on for, however conversations you may hear, 1 or 30, it's just, this is just an opportunity to sit down with some really cool people who have been stubborn and hope themselves, who have this desire to see something that they are chasing after despite the obstacles and the naysayers. Whether that's in love, whether that's in transforming communities, education systems, or protecting a language within the diaspora and championing it, whatever their stories of stubbornness and hope may be, we're just gonna sit, talk, listen through them. This is a space to come, be encouraged, to maybe laugh. You might cry, I don't know. You might. Um, to just hopefully get a little bit of hope each time that you're here. So, if you have any specific areas that you would like an episode on, feel free to message at Stubborn and Hope on Instagram, or put a comment on YouTube, same handle. Or just, if you know me personally, you can get on the old WhatsApp, whatever. But yeah, that's what this is, and that's what this is about. So, a couple of things. One, being stubborn is not always a bad thing, and that's what I'm going to keep saying throughout this. But also, I hope that we all have some part of our internal universal arc that bends towards hope, because yeah, it really does make a difference. So, until next time, thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next episode.